All right, welcome back, everyone. Now we are here with our Pune chapter, which is a session talk on changing expectation from an agile coach. Agile Network India, we thank our founding sponsor, Innovation Root, which is a leading consulting and training service provider helping organizations to achieve business agility and beyond. It is one of the leaders and pioneers of niche publishing services and well known for content collaboration with global thought leaders and authors and creators. For more information, visit innovationroots.com. We also thank our sponsor, Agile. A product offering from Tata Consultancy Services Limited is a purely cloud-based enterprise agile planning tool along with DevOps capabilities. Enterprise can use Agile to adopt agile practices or scale across multiple Scrum and Kanban teams using enterprise scaling frameworks such as SAFe, Disciplined Agile, Less, and more. You can try out Agile for free up to 20 users for 30 days by signing up at agile.io or reach out to us for any queries or exclusive product demo. Check out the Agile page on Agile Network India website for more information. Here are some do's and don'ts for the participants. Don't join the event 5 minutes before the start time. Use high quality speakers or headphones for better sound quality. Please keep your microphones muted and video disabled as this may cause disturbance and bandwidth issue. Questions will be taken via the chat box. Please enter your questions in the chat box. At the end of the session, the facilitator or the moderator will help and read out a few questions to the speaker as per the time available. Please fill in the feedback forms after the event to help us understand more about the event management. We appreciate your cooperation. I would like to call upon Prashant Gulwani, who will be moderating the session.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining on this Saturday morning. We Pune chapter excited to organize today's session on the changing expected from an agile coach. My name is Prashant Gulwadi, and I am a volunteer in the Agile Network India community representing the Pune chapter. Agile coach is a frequently used term and role nowadays. Very popular. You might have seen various requirements coming up on the job portals and various themes that we speak in our events. Many organizations are onboarding them to support their agile transformation journey. But in many cases, the expectations are not matching the requirements, thus resulting in customer dissatisfaction, the employee not being happy with what they do, being questioned on the outcomes being delivered. The client's expectation from an agile coach is also significantly changing from just being a process consultant to being a leader working closely with a team. You may see a varied flavor of job descriptions on LinkedIn itself. Today's session, we expect to cover the requirement from various customers and insight from the practical experiences of the seniors in the industry. We have with us today an eminent senior from the IT industry, Mr. Rahul Sadame. He is a senior engineering partner at Persistent Systems. He is also an agile coach in the company. Over past 2 decades, Rahul has built expertise in project delivery and associated methodologies. He was Vice President Corporate and a Director of Programs at the PMI Pune Deccan India chapter. So he's got a rich experience in the main curriculum at the corporate level as well as extracurricular activities too. I thank Rahul for supporting our knowledge sharing initiative through his participation in today's session. Welcoming Rahul and now inviting him to commence his presentations.
Thanks everyone for joining the session and happy to be here and sharing the inputs or experiences primarily what we are seeing. So a little bit of I think Prashant already talked about it. I've been working in the IT space for quite some time, working with different organizations on their process transformation initiatives, including Agile, and have seen a lot of changes, a lot of different expectations coming from customers, and that's what I plan to share with all of you today. So what we will be covering today is how the agile coach role has been evolving, some of the client feedback that we are seeing on the ground, what are the different styles of coaching, and what is the ROI, what is the return on investment of having an agile coach? How is it that look like? How is it that perceived by different organizations? So that's something we'll be looking at today. I'd like to start with a story. I'm sure all of you would have heard the story of a blue fox, right? A fox actually who falls into a drum containing blue liquid, and he completely is colored blue, but he presents himself as if he is now the new king of the jungle and a different animal altogether. That's something we might have seen in our practical experiences on the ground, where someone might have just an experience of being a scrum master, someone might have just an experience of a project manager or a process coach or consultant or delivery excellence team member, worked in agile for some time, and he would present himself as an agile coach. But when the customers look at it, they look at it with a lot of different expectations, a lot of different assumptions, and that is where actually it becomes important that we have the right match for the right requirements. Otherwise we might end up having a blue agile coach. I'd like to refer to a book by Lisa Atkins. This book is actually specifically on the coaching agile teams, and it has excellent inputs actually on the coaching aspects and different kinds of coaches, different styles of coaches, what are the failure modes or success modes. One of the things it talks about is actually the evolution of this agile coach, which is something I'm sure we all would have seen. Someone who has been a scrum master or a scrum master 1.0, he has been doing scrum at a team level and things are working fine. He feels that, hey, there's little more to it. It's just not that something being done at a team level. There's one level up. There are multiple different things that the team is dependent on. There are a lot of interfaces, there are a lot of cross team dependencies that need to be handled. So there's an elevation to that, which leads to a role of an agile coach. Or it could be someone, the name of the book is Coaching Agile Teams, that you can see here, Coaching Agile Teams by Lisa Atkins. And it actually talks about multiple different aspects of coaching. And or someone could be a developer. He actually starts as a developer, then he becomes a lead, tries out some of the extreme programming concepts and principles, including TDD, BDD, code reviews, pair programming, then basically becomes an XP coach, and then being named as an agile coach. Or someone who could be a project manager in the conventional role, transforms into a scrum master role, and then basically moves into this agile coach role. So this is absolutely fine. This is something that you would have seen in multiple different areas time and again. And I'm sure you would have seen this from the LinkedIn profiles as well, where someone actually initially was a senior project manager or a scrum master, and then he evolves into an agile coach. Okay. Or someone has been working a PM role or an overlapping role of additional scrum master role, then he becomes a senior scrum master and sometimes also called as an agile coach. So I'm sure that's something you would have seen as a logical and a natural progression of it. Another thing that you might have seen is basically war of these credentials, and I'm sure you would have seen these kind of LinkedIn profiles, and these are titles of the individuals, not just basically the details that would come or follow. And people are proud of different certifications, and rightfully so, because they have put efforts to earn these. And it is good because that establishes actually the conceptual part of it, the theoretical part of it, or in some certifications it also checks your experience. So it establishes that, hey, you know agile. So if you are to be onboarded as agile coach, some of these certifications would help at least to address the question that, do you know agile? Do you know the concepts of Scrum or XP or Kanban or scaled agile framework or different methodologies? So it can actually establish that. The challenge for team members who want to build a career as an agile coach and are looking for certifications, the challenge is there is an abundance of these different certifications that are available. So which one to choose for? Should I go for certification 1 versus 2 versus 3? Because it's sometimes too much, sometimes it could be overwhelming, and it also sometimes actually results in a particular path that, hey, let me choose the path which is the certifications on Scrum related, or certifications related to scaled agile or disciplined agile, or any other particular path of it, or technical certifications, because a lot of these actually are covering different elements and dimensions of it. Some of these certifications are also nowadays specifically calling out the coach related or coaching related aspects as well. So there's a lot of information that's available. There's a lot of things to be covered by someone who is an aspirational agile coach, someone who wants to be in that role, someone who wants to present himself in that role. There's a lot, and sometimes it can become confusing. What should I choose for? What will actually help me to become an agile coach? Do I do this certification 1, 3, and 5, and that will make me the agile coach? Probably certification will help you, but not guarantee that you will be onboarded as an agile coach. Now, why do I say that? That's where actually rubber meets the road. And what I'm showing to you is a feedback from one of our actual clients. The client said that, hey, thank you, Rahul, for sharing these profiles, but we don't feel that any of these are agile coaches, at least not matching to our expectations. So what are they saying? They're saying that these guys probably have been Scrum Masters, project managers, process consultants, but we don't feel that they have an agile coaching experience. Okay, they have done that on the ground. Or what we are looking at is more specific. We are looking at someone who is technically also sound along with the process knowledge, whether it is TDD, BDD, or other aspects. And we don't find that kind of experience in this candidate. And that's where it becomes a chicken and egg. Unless you have played a role of an agile coach, how will you have an experience of an agile coach? And then how do you kind of approach for these kind of positions? But that's where customers actually think that, hey, have you been in your current role, played something just more than, so it's like a Scrum Master plus plus or project manager plus plus. What is that plus plus? Have you done something more? Have you done something extra, which actually helps you to make sure that you're properly prepared, you're properly ready to take that role? And mind you, when organizations are onboarding anyone as an agile coach, it's not an easy thing. What does that mean is I'm actually inviting someone and giving him complete control of my organization's culture, because that agile coach is going to work with all of my teams and set up a right environment, work on people's mindset, attitude, behavior, engineering practices, technical practices. So he's going to do a lot of changes in my organization. And that is where it is absolutely right for customers to validate, vet the agile coach who's going to play an important role or transformation role in their organization. So the customers are also becoming more and more picky, more and more choosy, and more sensitive on this aspect. And that's what we wanted to discuss, brainstorm, understand in today's session. Now, to expand it further, when the customer shared these inputs, we asked him, okay, can you let us know what is the job description of this agile coach? What is that you're looking at? And you will see some of the standard expectations from an agile coach, like he should have a good understanding of agile manifesto, he should understand the agile principles and values, he should be good with Scrum roles and events and artifacts and best practices. It is absolutely fine until then. But as soon as you actually start looking at these keywords that are highlighted, you understand that customer is looking for plus plus. Okay, so he is actually expecting the person to be knowing the technical aspects as well. He's expecting the agile coach to be good at architectural design aspects, the service oriented or micro services part of it, because the application, if it is not really flexible, then no matter whatever processes you follow, you will not be able to deliver quickly. If you have a very monolith platform, if you have huge application which is built in such tightly integrated pieces, then even if you change in one component, one class, one method, one part of it, you will not be able to roll out, because so many things are interconnected and things cannot just be rolled out, deployed in isolation. So then it gets actually deep down into the engineering practices as well, and whether it is the coding standard, whether it is the branching strategies, because the customers are also asking, and I have worked with many customers and they have asked us, Rahul, can you tell us what is the right branching strategy for us? Because at any given point of time we will be having 3 releases going on, one which is current, for which new development is happening, one which is already on production, so if there are any changes to be done or patching to be done, that's a separate release, and the one which is going to come up going forward, so the 2.0 release, 3.0 release, for which some work might start sooner. So how do I handle multiple branches? What is right for me? What is my release management mechanism? So that becomes a critical aspect in this whole ecosystem. And then there are refactoring techniques, there are unit test automation, test driven development, branching strategy. The customer is saying, should we do trunk based development? What is your recommendation? Then continuous integration, not just conceptually but help us implement on the ground, because we all know continuous integration is good, we should do CI/CD, but will you help me to set it up? Or will you say that, hey, now let me get someone else who can help you set it up? And then not only just knowing tools like Jira, but do you also know how to use them in the best possible way? Whether it is the plugins, using the right plugins, whether it is even creating custom dashboards and things like that. So it is actually, you will see that, the customer is thinking that, can this guy do the things completely for me? Can I get a complete package in this coach? Similarly, like the customers say that, hey, do I need a separate manual tester and a separate automation tester? Why can't the same tester do manual plus automation? And then second part is actually, a little bit of, let's say when I have a scrum master and a project manager, why do I need to have both? Can I actually have the same person doing both? Yes, probably I would not like to pay for a separate project manager and scrum master. I would like to have just one person. Similarly, the customers are actually expecting the coach also to know both of these, and that's where I'd like to hear your inputs, your thoughts, your comments as well. I see some of the comments are coming up in chat window. Please feel free to share your thoughts, your inputs as well. I see some of the comments like, hey, when the agile coach is supposed to be making business transformation and you are expecting him to be good at technical things, that might be unrealistic. And that's what we sometimes face on the ground. We also try to tell customer, we also try to work with the customers that, hey, someone who is good at business process transformation, someone who is good at the entire methodologies, people, mindset, organizational development, might have different skills and experience than someone who is really hands-on, someone who is really doing the CI/CD setup on the ground. Because CI/CD is not just a word anymore. It's not just Jenkins anymore. It has become Azure DevOps. It might be the cloud formation, Terraform templates, and so many different things into it. So it has become very, very sometimes specialized. So that is a tricky scenario. Okay. And then I see that there are inputs that, he can be a counselor, he can be a trainer and a guide. The clients are actually, I see Satish saying that, the customers are also looking for someone who can help on technical agility, which is right. Because what has happened is now with past many years, we have crossed that stage, at least with experienced team members, where they don't need to be trained on what is Scrum, what is stand up, or what 3 things need to be discussed on the stand up or demo or retro or things like that. A larger population knows that by now. So it's not the case where we are talking about these theory parts, okay, or philosophical parts, or only the conceptual parts. They are actually looking for someone who can come and implement it on the ground. Now, he may not necessarily be expected to do the coding himself or the Azure DevOps setup himself, but he understands that what is the technology stack that this customer has, and is Azure based CI/CD environment better for him, or AWS based, or the on-prem, or is it open source versus the other ones? what is the right branching strategy, what is the right rollout or release management strategy. So that is absolutely something that's getting mixed up. Okay, where the customers are saying, I don't want someone who would just come and tell be a trainer, or who will just be preaching a lot of theory. Probably that's not where we can see the transformation happening. They want people who can actually make sure that end-to-end transformation is factored in, and that's where they're actually, because I'm sure you will all understand that the way someone as a developer or a tester or a billing rate of any other team members versus Agile Coach could be different. This gets actually presented as a special skill, a niche skill, and then the rates could be significantly or exorbitantly high. The expectations of the Agile coaches themselves from CTC perspective could be high. Now, all of this happening, if customer is paying more, is also saying that, is that guy assuring me the outcome? And if you are actually in a services industry where you are helping customer to take ownership of their Agile transformation journey, or you are in a consulting organization where you actually help customers by giving them Agile coaches, they will say that, hey, can we have a statement of work which says that this is what this Agile coach would deliver for me? Because what is the outcome that I am expecting out of this? And that's where what we also did is we also tried to make sure, how do we select right people on the ground? We actually try to make sure that different expectations are properly handled. We told the customer that, hey, let's understand, what are you looking at? Are you looking at as an Agile coach who is a process coach, or are you looking at someone who is a technical coach or an architect? Because there could be sometimes the expectations to such an extreme that it's almost an architect. So we also try to make sure that we differentiate these, we get the clarifications, expectations from client. We listed down that this is what you would typically think of a job description of an Agile coach versus someone who's a technical Agile coach and architect. Make sure that we actually are on the same page. When we evaluated the candidates, or the clients evaluated the candidates, they also actually try to look for very specific expectations that they have. For example, these are actual some of the inputs or some of the feedback that different candidates receive, and you will see that some of them they are very specific, that, hey, I don't see this guy having a full-time or a primary Agile coach role. Maybe he was doing different things, and coaching the team was one of the things that he was doing, or maybe more towards a scrum master role, or basically a program manager role, or things of that sort. So customers are also looking for something specific, something that is relevant to their organization, something that can make things work in their organization. So that is what is definitely coming up. That is where you will also see that some of the interview questions are also changing based on what is the role that we're talking about. So it's not just Agile coach anymore. It could be just a facilitator, where actually someone is a scrum master, and along with scrum master, he can help the team to understand Agile, do it right on the ground. Or it could be an Agile coach, which he is actually making sure that the transformation is happening at team level. The implementation, the mindset is properly getting built in. Or it could be enterprise Agile coach, where he is looking at the entire organization's behavior, culture, and the entire context. Or it could be a technical coach. So you will see that there are some questions mentioned here that would differ based on what we are looking at, what is the kind of role that we are looking at. So that's something you will see being translated. You will also see some tricky questions coming up for someone who wants to be a coach, that, hey, as a coach, you're not having people reporting to you, you're not having everyone actually having a hierarchy aligned to you, so you're doing a lot of influencing without authority. In that case, what if you have a conflict? You have a conflict with the project manager or a scrum master or an architect on the ground, or the product owner or the other roles. How would you handle that? How would you balance that? How do you understand your own role? What is that you are supposed to do? What is that you're not supposed to do? Where do the boundaries of an Agile coach lie? So you'll see a lot of questions on those aspects as well. I would also like actually all of you to think of, brainstorm, what is your own style of coaching, because that makes a difference, that directly makes an impact on how we actually work on the ground. And if your style is right for the organization, then it can make a positive impact. But if your style is detrimental, it can actually have a negative impact, because you are now in some shape and form, you are establishing the ground rules for the organization. And if you yourself are not aligned with the leadership, the servant leadership concepts, then it might actually damage the things. Or are you creating the things that will sustain for a longer period, or are you creating it in a way where people will always be dependent on you, and if you're not there, then the agile mechanism just falls apart. I think those things matter. So are you when some of the people work or think of as an agile coach, unfortunately, there could be some people who are just commentators. They are sitting in the commentary box. They are seeing that the team is doing Scrum. They will just stand in the stand-up room or calls, and they will see how the team is doing and make comments. Okay, there could be other ways who are actually on the ground. They're almost on the ground, and whenever the team is playing, there is a the part one is done and part two is to be started, or sprint one is done and sprint two is to be started. The important aspect is that then between those two sprints or gaps, which is the retrospection for us, he could actually make sure that he's talking with the team, aligning or tailoring with the team, something that you would see like in pro kabaddi league. He's not just a commentator, he's very much playing along with you. There could be some coaches who are generalist, like someone who is a process transformation, who is coach as a whole, or someone could be a very specialist, like just the bowling coach, just the fielding coach, just the batting coach. Like in our parlance, it could be someone who is very specialized into technical aspects, very specialized into scaled agile framework, very specialized into Kanban. So there could be specialized coaches as well. Or sometimes I've seen agile coaches initially might have to play a role of a captain, where they are actually working as a scrum master. They are setting up the ground rules. They are telling the team how it is to be done, and then over a period of time, they will hand it over to a new captain. That's something that you might have to be done. You might also have to be a motivator, because some coaches could be good motivators. They will actually bring the best out of you and the team, and then let you run, let you be successful as an individual. Or you might see that some people are instructing you, telling you how it is to be done, and they expect you to be it to be done in a particular way. And again, it is important because you are trying to set the whole behavior of the organization, the mindset of the people. So you are transforming the team and the organization. So that's where there's a lot of things that are dependent on you. So that's something you should be definitely mindful of. What is your strategy? What is your attitude? What is your personality? Also plays a role in this entire gamut of things. And that is what your customers, your senior management is also looking for as a coach, because what are the KRAs? What is that you are actually doing? That's something being looked at. You will also see that sometimes the agile coaches actually get into, they might feel that, okay, this is my religion. For example, some people might think that, hey, I just love Scrum, and I'm coach specialized into Scrum. Or some people would think that, hey, I'm actually, my religion is scaled agile framework. So I'm a release train engineer, or I'm actually a value stream engineer, or I'm someone who can work on it. I've done the SAFe program consultant and those kind of certifications. So my religion is SAFe. Whereas someone else might say that, hey, uh, my style is disciplined agile. Someone else might say that I'm large scale Scrum, or someone else might say I like Spotify and all that. And just that's where I actually thought of like a story. So if all the animals were fighting with each other and saying who would be the king of the jungle, an elephant who is like a massive process driven organization would say I am the king of the jungle. Someone who would, like a cheetah, is nimble and fast and running, would say I am the king of the jungle. But we need to understand actually the customer is also is the king of the jungle. We are trying to make sure that the things are delivered for the customer. So while having the understanding of different processes is good, sometimes I feel that people get too much into it, as this is the only way which is right way, and the other things may not be right. Whereas as a coach, you need to be aware of multiple different things. As a coach, you need to be aware of what all new things are happening, coming up in this entire context, and what is new happening. I would also like to share in this context, as a coach, you need to be aware of what are the new things that are coming up. So in that context, for example, there's a new book that is written. The name of the book is Product to Project. Okay, Product to Project by Mike Kirsten. And Mike Kirsten, in his book, talks about a flow framework. He says that we need to ensure that agile actually as a concept is delivering the value of flow to the end customers. So we need to have flow metrics. We should not have the waterfall metrics. So that's a new concept being talked about. Now, let's say if your customer or your own organization's VP of engineering or VP of business attend some conference and he sees this concept that, hey, what is this flow framework? Then he might come to you as an agile coach and say that, hey, can you tell me something more about it? And you may not know everything in the world. That's not practically possible. But are you also trying to learn more? Okay, that's where some of our customers also ask that, hey, is this an agile coach? Is he participating in different forums and trying to expand his knowledge? Are you reading books? Are you reading blogs? Are you writing blogs? Are you participating in events like the one that we are attending, or conferences? Or are you sharing your experiences? Are you considered as a thought leader? No, that is something that is being looked at, is being understood or evaluated as well. So it becomes a pretty interesting concept to work on. So what is the OKR, the objectives and key results of an agile coach? Again, this is basically, we're talking from a book. The concept OKR is basically measure what matters. OKR, the objectives and the key results. It's by John Doerr. So what it says is, are you actually measuring what matters to the organization? Now, if they apply same principles, or in some other ways, if we say what is the KPIs, what are the what is that the targets for an agile coach? It's a varied of things. Okay, because you're trying to transform the organization, and the need of the organization could be different. I'd like to tell you one quote from one of our customer who is a senior director of engineering from one of the large bank. He said, Rahul, if the implementation of Agile is not translating into my top line, which means my revenue, then I don't think Agile and the Agile coaches have made any difference. Because you might be doing these stand-ups and demo and retro fantastically well, but if it is not translating into my top line, I'm not getting new revenue, or I'm not actually saving some cost, or some ways something that translates into my business, then I might be just spending a lot. Because one more thing we need to understand, when any organizations are doing enterprise level Agile, they're spending a lot as well. They're spending on licenses, tool licenses like Agile or others, and Jira and others. They're also spending on the Agile coaches. They're spending on people who might be exclusively working as Scrum Masters. They might be using a lot of CI/CD tools and licenses for that, and servers and continuous integration machines and all that. So there's a money that is spent, okay, and the customers are expecting the returns on that, and they expect the Agile coach to make it happen. So that is where you will see sometimes they have very specific expectations. So that is something becomes an important aspect. The delivery cycle optimization. Okay, so is this really helping in reducing my overall cycle time, or is it the case that I'm doing sprints and demos, but I'm accumulating everything on my UAT environment for 6 months, and then I'm doing a big bang release? Then probably we may not have optimized the things. Are you tailoring it to the organization needs? Because every organization's needs could be different. The financial services organizations versus the telecom versus the media, things could be different. In media and publishing, you might want to push things very rapidly, whereas there are some other environments like hardware and others where you want to have things done, but the definition of rapid is different there. You don't want every 2 weeks, or you don't want every 1 month. So how do you understand, tailor, and make sure it is relevant to them? Are you, of course, getting the business value that your business team, the customers, the end customers are expecting? Are you actually, as a coach, creating the right mindset that can sustain for a long time? Are you building the high performing teams, the teams that can deliver the value by themselves? And are you building the self sustaining teams? So one of the expectations from a coach is he builds the team and lets the team run the show by themselves. There should not be stickiness on coach, where if the coach is out, he goes to some other project, then this team is back to normal and they just start following the same processes. Then we are not getting the best outcome. So there is a lot of organizational change and organizational development aspects that need to be factored in. We're not just talking about the process part of it. We need to be mindful of this whole organizational development and the change in its entirety. So these become a lot of different things that we would be expecting from an agile coach, gets into the entire assessment of an agile coach and the value that is brought in by him. The next level of assessment, now it is not at just a coach level, now it is at an organization level. What is the ROI of agile? What is the ROI of coach? What is that is bringing in? Is the coach actually showing me the demonstrable outcome? And we are not just talking about doing the processes. Okay, the agile coach has established now the demo as stand-ups, or the program increment planning meetings, or we have the release pipelines and CI/CD setup, and all that is good. But what does that translate into? What is the difference I'm seeing? Is the agile coach actually demonstrating it to me, the business leaders, the people who are sponsoring these initiatives, that I was actually at this stage at the start or before involving an agile coach, and after he got involved, this is what I see 1 quarter later? Is there any translation that I see that actually the release planning things have changed, the team dynamics have changed, the iteration planning has become better? Can I actually see the quantifiable or measurable outcome? And that is becoming one of the asks. Is agile coach actually also helping me to move up? Like, let's say when we started, we were just at level 1, and the definition of level 1 could differ in different organizations. But are we becoming better? And how do we ensure that we're becoming better? And not by having very heavy matrices, but still at the same time, how do we ensure that this whole effort is paying off? And that's something I've been researching and gathering a lot of inputs and looking from different people and organizations. People expect actually the delivery cycle time or work in progress items to be reduced as the outcome of this exercise. What are the specific business goals that are defined? Some people also said, yeah, it wasn't worth doing because we didn't saw tangible benefit or outcome out of it. And some of them could be like, do I see reduction in the defects, the production patches that we had to do, and things like that? Did we do on-time delivery, and even the satisfaction of team and the customers? So different ways to look at it. But the point here is that there are expectations that is there an outcome that is demonstrated, not just thought about, not just conceptual, but something that can be established very clearly. There is another concept for the agile coach, and that's basically what are the failure modes of an agile coach. And again, there are two interesting concepts that are brought in this book, the coaching agile teams. It talks about two concepts, as you see, coaching agile teams by Lisa Atkins. It talks about two concepts, the agile coach failure modes and agile coach success modes. So it says that there are some failure modes. So basically someone who's a spy, okay, so who's looking at you, who is basically looking at the mistakes of the team, and then in the retro he'll bring that up. Someone could be like a seagull. He would come in once in a while, look at it, give you some inputs, go out. Or he could be an opinionator, or he could be an admin, where he would say that, oh, I'll take care of the setting up the stand-up meeting, demo meeting, PI planning, I'll take care of all administrative things. Or he could be a hub, where he might say everything needs to route it through me only. He could be a butterfly, where he goes from one team to second team to third team. He could be an expert, where he sees that I am the expert into this entire thing. Or he could be a nagging person, that why didn't you do update your remaining hours, the Jira dashboard is screwed up, your burn down is not going down. So he could be a nagging fellow on the ground. So it actually tells us some of these failure modes and the success modes as well. Where are you doing the probing questions? Are you actually bringing in a lot of inputs, which will be an aha moment for the team, which will make them think, which will make them bring out a lot of thoughts to them. Now, so what are the takeaways? What is that we see from this? So if you are actually working as an agile coach, you need to understand that your customers are going to have different and varied expectations from you. So what is that you should do? The first thing, if you're getting involved in that, make sure that the right expectations are set. What is that you expect from an agile coach? In what setting he is working? Because this is all influencing without authority. People are not going to listen to you just like that. Okay, so what are the expectations from you as an agile coach? What is the expected outcome that we need to see on the ground? You need to focus on the organizational development and the culture aspect of it, because only the right culture, right setup will actually help in having it sustained. We need to establish the right structures as well, how the program increment planning will happen, how the integration will happen periodically, how the demos will happen, how the rollout and release management will happen, who are the different people involved, what are the stakeholders playing different roles. Having the right structure will actually help in sustaining that for long period. And another last point is you need to highlight the outcome, demonstrate the benefits that we've got, so that people will value and appreciate. They will not just see as an investment or a cost or something that they got philosophically good, but something that actually translated on the ground as well. So that's something that you have to work on. Otherwise, people might be thinking of you as a Superman who can do everything and anything in the world. So that's where we'll have to bring in that the coach will definitely facilitate, support, be on the ground, help the team. But the team needs to do it, the organization needs to do certain things, and there are certain things need to be done to sustain it over a period of time. So that's what we'll have to work on. With that, I'll probably pause and show the last slide again from a storytelling perspective. That there could be, you might see that there could be differences, there could be team members working differently. If you're actually, an agile coach as a storyteller like me, you might tell them stories or inputs or nuggets, or tell them that, hey, like the pigeons caught in the net, if you all fly together, you all can actually get out of this challenge. And then you will see the teams actually doing things on the ground, doing it better, and I'm sure you can see the outcome on the ground. So that is what I wanted to share as my thoughts, experiences, what I'm seeing on the ground, the inputs we are receiving, and the expectations that we are seeing on the ground. Uh, Questions, any inputs, any thoughts you have? I think you can certainly look at it and discuss it.
Thank you, Rahul. That was a very interesting session. Wonderfully interspersed with a lot of graphics and stories with analogies for us to take away. I enjoyed the session entirely. Hope the audience also enjoyed as much as I did. There will be a lot of comments coming up, and with the last 5 minutes, maybe we'll take a few of them, and others will maybe take it offline. So I'll go to Harish's question here because I did see that conflict coming from many people. Client expectations is that business transformation coach is expected to do technical coaching. This is a bit unrealistic expectation. What are your thoughts on this, Rahul?
Yeah, see, I think we would think of it as an unrealistic, and there is a practical challenge as well. See, and that's why we talked about how people became a coach. So someone who is interested in the process aspect of it, someone who is interested in Scrum, someone who is passionate about Agile, as a process, as a concept, as an transformation, he loves it. He sees value in Agile, but a lot of that could be process, a lot of that could be business transformation, and he may not be a developer, he may not be a coder or an architect. Having an expectation is right, but will we have people like that? So if today we have to take a survey of how many technical agile coaches we have who can do all 10 different things, there would be very handful of them. But the customers have a valid point as well. What they are saying is, if I'm actually bringing in one person to transform my organization, why do I actually then bring another person to do another level of transformation? because one is the process transformation. The second is the engineering processes transformation, which involves branching, which involves microservices, which involves CI/CD tools and all that. So they at least expect, and they do, like I said, they don't expect the person to do coding, but they expect the person to be aware of those concepts and very sound understanding, not just theoretical understanding that CI/CD is good. One level deep is what they're looking at. Sometimes we actually also, if it is very much specific that I just want help on setting up my Azure DevOps, then we would get an Azure DevOps architect involved there. We don't have to then mess it up with Agile Coach. Sometimes the roles get mixed up. Sometimes the expectations get mixed up because customers nowadays do expect the Agile to help on the technical agility aspect as well.
So I'll sum up your response in 2 words. Is one of the principles of Agile, where the technical excellence of the team, the coach also expect to understand what they're talking about. Thank you,
Correct.
Rahul. Actually, it leads me to the next question asked by Harish. Is there a way to make client understand the coaching expectations before hiring an Agile coach? There's some relation to what you just said there. So how do we build that expectation? What the coach to expect from a service industry or something like us?
Yeah, it is important. So how do we do that? I think that's where, like I said, what we did is we actually created a job description of what the customer is expecting, uh, and that was part one. Okay, so that we understand what they're looking for. The next thing that we did is we conducted a workshop with the client's senior stakeholders. And then in that workshop, we actually define what is that we want to do through this agile transformation and what are the expectations that we are achieving. We listed down those expectations, and we also made it clear that there are certain things that can be done just by one person called agile coach, but there are certain things that needs to be done by the organization themselves. Because if there is a wide gap between, let's say, business and IT, then agile coach can try to bridge it, but he may not be able to fix it, especially if he's an external coach or consultant. So one is having understanding with a wider audience, listing it down, or categorizing the expectations. Because what are the parameters on which you are evaluating becomes very important. Because otherwise, we can be actually on different planets altogether. So that is where what we are doing is understand what do they expect out of this transformation. Do they expect the cycle time to be reduced, or do they expect new revenue, or they do expect on-time delivery? I think that expectation setting is important so that the next journey is properly aligned.
Thank you, Rahul. We just close on dot, but I take one last question. The liberty, the organizers, sorry. Question from Priyanka Shah. I think most of us might be intrigued. If Agile coach is working with teams, but the senior management is not approachable, what do you advise? And then you can wrap up with this session on this question here.
Yeah,
Quick 1 minute
so
answer,
see
Rahul,
one
if you
thing.
can.
Yeah. So see, one typically in any organization, whether it is services or product-based organization, Agile coach should be enabled to have the access to the right management hierarchy. For example, if someone is working as an Agile coach, he should have an opportunity to talk with the CXOs or the VPs and provide the feedback. If he is working just at a team level, and if he sees there are challenges between, let's say, the business at or IT or business or between two teams, but if he is not able to raise it at the right level or structures in the organization where it can be fixed, then it will be a failure. So that is where, and some organizations do it right. When they get someone as an agile coach, they set the expectation that this guy will have access to the senior management. He will provide his inputs to the senior management, so that if there is a fine tuning to be done, that can be implemented. And like you said, this is an organization change, right? It cannot be done at just a team level or in isolation. So the right way to do that is to have the right access and support provided to agile coach with the right decision makers in the organization.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you, Priyanka, and everyone else on the webinar for your interesting questions. We apologize for not taking all of them, and we'll take it with you offline. I thank the organizers and the sponsors for allowing us to organize this session. As I said earlier, it was a very informative session for me, a lot of takeaways. And I thank Rahul, Sudame, and Persistent Systems who've been constantly supporting initiatives. So, Rahul, thank you and congratulations on a job well done. We look forward to work with you again. Thank you to all the organizers and the participants on the session today. Bye-bye.